Hi, this is Jeremy with Esports Max here at PAX Prime Seattle. At the end, I'm here with Dyrus, top laner from Team Solo Mid after the win over Cloud9. Dyrus, I know that was an emotional game for you guys, especially that last game. And you kind of actually choked up a little bit talking to the end of it. How do you guys feel now?
It's great. We haven't won for like the last 2-3 splits, so we finally took a game off them. It was a lot closer than I wanted it to be, but winning's a win.
Right. Now you guys were obviously the first team to ever take even a game off of Cloud9 in the playoffs. Obviously this has been kind of an up and down split for you guys, especially with the roster changes and all that. How confident were you going into this match?
Well, in terms of them never losing a playoff game, they're going to have momentum, but in honesty, and a best of 5 stats don't mean anything. You can get hyped up against like, oh, they've been number one for the last couple of splits, they're stomping everyone. They 3-0'd Curse. But then you also look at who they've been playing against. Was their opponents like making obvious mistakes, really dumb mistakes, and are those opponents worse than you? And so far, in terms of scrims, our confidence level has gone up from winning all of our scrims, but the problem is when we're scared on stage, we play a lot worse. So in the end, all we had to really do was believe in ourselves and play confidently, because if we don't, they're just going to 3-0 us.
Now let me ask you, the first game obviously didn't go well. Seemed like maybe there were some issues in Champ Select. Right after that first game, both Reggie and Loco came right up on stage, didn't even want to wait to talk to you guys. Give us at least a little idea of what they told you.
Well, before we even got into the game, it was kind of a test game to see what they would go into, because we weren't really sure what they really wanted. After the first, second, third game of like talking and figuring it out, we had a big feel of easy feel of what they wanted. We knew exactly what they were going to play, and we knew exactly what we were going to play, and that made it easier going into the games. All we had to do is talk about was fix our small flaws per game, and we did.
Now let me ask you, against, in their last match anyway, the 3-0 against Curse, Cloud9 kept sending Sneaky to top lane to solo. Curse seemed to have no response. You guys did a lot better in responding to that strategy and shutting that down. Is this something you were aware of going in and something that you planned on taking care of?
Yeah, it was kind of a curveball where they changed up the style, where they literally changed their AD carry with their top laner. And honestly, I don't think it's a good strategy. It's a good strategy on the first time because you're not sure if their support is going to be top, but after 3-4 times, their support keeps going bottom. So I'm just basically 1v1 versus the AD carry, and I need to treat that AD carry like a top laner, and we need to treat their top laner like an AD carry. And it puts our AD carry behind, and it's kind of weird, but we should be able to get every single dragon off of that.
Now, were you a little bit surprised they did on the last game with Corki, who's traditionally used for his lane bullying and more mid-game pressure? You're surprised they used Corki for that instead of, say, Tristan or a Kog'Maw?
Yeah, I think Sneaky should have stuck to what he was strong with. He's trying to change it up because he wanted to fix them losing, but there's nothing wrong with Sneaky. He was by far the MVP on their team, and he just changed it up in the end. He was still a big impact in the game, but if he was Kog'Maw, it would have been a bigger problem.
Let me ask you, the third game, when they took a 2-1 lead, you guys once again led high on Zed, and he kind of went on a rampage. Was that an oversight during Champ Select, or was it something you thought you had an answer to?
We didn't think Zed was a problem, but what we did think was a problem was that we're not banning Zed when it's his most comfortable champion. So by the 5th game, we decided that he sucked with every other champion, and we wanted to take out his most comfortable champion, Zed. And by doing that, even though we made a lot of mistakes on the way and we're purple side and we were winning all the blue side games really hard, we decided that Zed was the most useful ban in that situation, and it worked out in our favor, even though we could have lost the last game easily.
Right. Now, speaking of that last game, you guys were actually somewhere between 2,000 to 3,000 gold down before that last team fight that ended it. What was the thought process going into it, especially as you kind of switched sides where you were in Cloud9's base and they were behind you? Didn't work out the first time, it was a 4-for-1, but it worked out the second time to give the game-winning team fight. What were the calls like there?
So we were missing a lot of skill shots. We're getting chunked and poked, and I said that, they have Corki poke. If we wait around, we're just going to get lower and lower until he runs out of mana, and then we're going to eventually die from a team fight. So we just needed to go in. Luckily, they just went in on us for us instead of poking because they felt like they're stronger. I used all of my abilities, died, and my team just cleaned up 4 versus 5. The other reason is because we're kind of choking throughout the game because it's really, really close. And they weren't able to close the game because we had better late game, better wave clear, and they were also choking too.
I mean, definitely the TSM late game team comp was better. Do you feel that kind of pressure them to doing something they didn't want to in the end?
Sorry, what was that?
Did they kind of make a play that they didn't want to because they felt like if they waited too long, you were going to outscale?
Yeah, we were in the advantageous position, but we could still get stronger. And they decided that we're not going to, they're not going to get any stronger from their comp, and they just needed to end it right there. And they went for it, and then they failed. They could have chose a better time, but, that's just how it is. No one knows what's really going to happen when 5 people clash.
All right, so now obviously that went well. You guys won the game. Obviously a huge emotional win for you. You talked about it before. How big is it to do this for the TSM organization, the fans, and obviously for you guys personally to know that you can come out on number 1 in NA?
Well, NA is the first step. Now we need to get good enough to beat the international teams. Because it doesn't matter if we're first, second, or third. If we go to Worlds and we all end up losing, then it just it doesn't mean as much as it can mean. So going to international scene, we're coming in as underdogs and we're just fighting to try and prove ourselves.
Now obviously TSM has looked as strong as the team probably ever has. Lust Boy seems to be working out. The team synergy seems to probably be at an all-time high, at least from the outside. That's the way it looks. What's the feeling going into Worlds? Obviously you guys have been to boot camp a little bit. How strong do you feel? Do you feel your chances are against the international competition?
I have no way to find out until we scrim, and even though we won these games, we beat LMQ, beat C9, beat DIG, these were all really, really close games, and we performed much, much better in scrims, so we have a lot to work on.
Just real quick, do you think is the main difference between, say, scrim and on LAN?
On LAN, people are more scared to fight. Every single one of our first games, we always give up free dragons when we're stronger. Second game, free dragons when we're stronger. And after the third game, we realize, wow, we're actually better than them. Why are we giving free dragons? Right. And then we end up beating them. So it's kind of the same with Dignitas, where Dig has amazing Baron control, but we're also scared at the same time. For LMQ, they fight for every dragon, but we're playing scared every time, and we barely came out. C9, the same thing happened, so I'm waiting to see when we actually learn from this. And if we don't learn from it, we're just going to get stomped on the international scene.
Well, hopefully that goes better. Obviously, you guys have some time to work on things. Thank you for taking the time. For let you go, any shout-outs, anything you want to say to the fans or the crew?
Shout out to Solomon.net, Riot Games, and all of our sponsors, Alienware, Logitech, and HyperX. Other than that, thanks very much.
Well, that's going to do it here, guys. Again, it's Jeremy with Esports Max. Check out esportsmax.com. Follow us on Twitter and for all the coverage. So thanks again. Take care.